Kuzuzampola, welcome to the land of the Thunder Dragon, a small kingdom in the Himalayas between Tibet and India. I will talk about my personal experiences of 4 years of living here, but first summarize a few unique things about Bhutan. The people are cheerful, smiling, content and playful, and childlike. Mainly they see few visitors and are still friendly and don't take life or even religion too seriously. And they are happy to break the rules, even if they are government rules or religious rules. Secondly, there are some important influences to this country. About 500 years ago, a monk came to spread the crazy form of Buddhism here. He was known as the divine madman. He preached that you can reach enlightenment even if you drink, have a healthy sex life, and not take yourself too seriously. So this is what you see is not actually graffiti, it is art. He told people to paint these symbols for protection from demons and bad spirits, and also to lighten up as you enter the house. He also built a fertility temple in the 1500s, Chimilakang, and you can still go there. And if you're thirsty, well, maybe you don't want to go here. But this visiting professor is enjoying all the attention she's getting here. Sadly, you can never take this photo again. Some tourist complained about it and the shop owner painted over it with white paint. Well, some gurus are more serious, and Guru Rinpoche came to Bhutan to teach Buddhism. He flew in on the back of a flying tiger. He is now worshipped everywhere. He flew to this cliff and meditated here for some years. It is called Tiger's Nest, and people built many temples here. And they even worshipped the place where he took a bath with his wife. The other important guy is a guy with this beard is Jabdrung. He unified the 19 ethnic groups and built forts to protect them from enemies. The fort is called a Dzong. He meditated for 75 years at Punaha Dzong before his followers told the public that he already died 75 years ago. There's also a unique mixture of old and new beliefs. Astrologers study at a college here, and they will tell you even what color of car you must buy. The old beliefs dictate that lakes and rivers and rocks are sacred. No swimming or fishing is allowed. But it was okay sometimes to have fresh caught trout for dinner at a village. So the old religion was based on nature, and the new religion of Buddhism incorporated some of that now. Then after Jabdrung died, it took another 200 years to install the first king of Bhutan. So since 1908, we actually have 5 kings, and the 4th king is the one who introduced the words gross national happiness as a guiding principle for development. The 4th king retired at the age of 55 and installed his son as the current Dragon King. We also call him K5. He married a lovely queen a few years ago, and this is a photo from TV when they celebrated the wedding for several days in Bhutan. I have my own photos of the king and the queen at a ceremony, which was snapped while the police were not looking. The cars used by the king have the plate Bhutan, but also the highest lama enjoys the same status as the king, has the same sort of car and the same license plate. He's called the Jekempo. He's equivalent to the Dalai Lama. He holds prayer sessions and teachings, pujas. He reads the books of Buddha and blesses people with a stick. He's just about to hit me over the head with that. Now, Bhutan has democracy. They have an elected prime minister. Here he visits the college where I was teaching. He gives talks. He's a great mountain bike rider and enters some extreme races. You can also meet him sometimes on the road, biking to his office. The rules of the government is such that people must dress properly in national dress. This guy is a dasho. He has a sword and a red scarf. He may be a minister, and these ministers and higher up people are called dashos, like the aristocrats. The common people just wear a kira or a go at work or school. The girls wear a kira, a wraparound skirt, and the boys wear a go, which is like a robe that you also tie around the waist. And they may have very colorful handmade boots for special occasions. The school uniform is mandatory, and kids are mostly obedient. They do respect the teachers. They call them sir or madam always. And they can sit at prayer sessions for many hours and listen to teachings by important Rinpoche, who is giving lectures on Buddhism and on good behavior. And of course, every aspect of good behavior is written up in this large 500-page book that Bhutan has that people must follow. Another unique aspect is the mandated traditional architecture for all buildings and houses. These houses are very colorful. They are painted beautifully. There are carvings made by artists and decorations. And even the trucks are colorful, which is great for photography. It is sad to come back to Canada and miss the colors, the art, and see only ugly trucks and gray buildings, which all look the same. Now, Bhutan has the same size as Vancouver Island or Switzerland, and about the same population as Vancouver Island, where I live, which is a little bit like being in Bhutan, surrounded by high mountains and natural scenery. The international airport in Bhutan is Paro, in a small valley where only expert pilots can land. I was living in the southwest area of Bhutan, in the village of Gedu, and did most of the travels to west, north, and central Bhutan, with a few trips to the east as well. Now, I spent many years trying to find a way to get to Bhutan without paying the tourist fees, which are quite high. And finally, after some 20 years, my efforts paid off. I was invited to present a paper at a conference of population and development. And since I am a computer programmer, that makes me an expert in population studies. So this was a dream come true, to fly over to the Himalayas and fly past Kanchenjunga and Everest, amongst the highest peaks in the world, to a far-off magical place of misty passes and Buddhist monuments, surrounded by snowy peaks and ancient fortresses, where people pray and turn prayer wheels for merit. And I eventually got a job as a professor at Royal University of Bhutan. Now, my teaching was at a college in Gedu, but this college started out not as a college, but as a Tala Hydro project about 2 decades ago. And on completion, the project offices were turned over to establish the college. The campus of this College of Business Studies is at over 2,000 meters elevation on a mountainside, and it does have buildings from the old hydro project, which are now used as classrooms, the library, offices for staff, and guest house. The faculty housing is on 200 acres surrounding the buildings amongst these rolling clouds. It is located in the coolest, rainiest climate in all of Bhutan, so most people don't really want to work here. It does rain at least 200 days a year, maybe similar to Vancouver Island. My own house is an old concrete two-bedroom place for a rent of about $1 a day, with a rusty roof, so I need to use an umbrella in the kitchen during the monsoon rains. Next to me is the jungle, full of wild birds, monkeys, deer, leopards, bears, and an occasional snake or rat which crawls in under my bed. But we are mostly surrounded by cows who come to my garden during the rain, and they bring in leeches and leave lots of cow dung. The college campus is surrounded by shacks of farmers, carpenters, maintenance workers, and plenty of cows to cut the grass. So life is good here, with great views to 5,000-meter peaks, but eventually work means having to go to class. So this is me as a Chilip teacher, the local word for a gringo or a foreigner. And he's a lousy teacher. His class, you can see, is completely out of control. And of course, these teenagers are the future leaders of Bhutan. So I'm not sure if I helped any of them to become that. Well, they don't care that much about mathematics or computers, but do prefer to hang out with lamas and rinpoches for photos and cancel classes for visiting royalty or princesses. Classes are frequently interrupted for religious practices such as pujas and tsechu celebrations and mass dance festivals. And students must practice all these traditional dances for many festive occasions. The dances are performed with colorful dresses on, handmade boots, and sometimes barefoot, just as it was done by the military men of the past. Well, I usually need a break from my daily work and the classes and get away from the students for a while, so prefer to be in the peaceful, misty forests, hiking alone and explore the nearby peaks, the shelters of nomads, and the ridge tops for great views to the borders of Tibet and Nepal. You can see views to Chomolhari and Kanchenjunga and other 7,000 or 8,000 meter peaks. I also did numerous hikes to local villages, finding some hidden meditation huts, such as this one, built for an old lama and is decorated with old calendar pictures of deities. Students also showed me other places to visit, such as caves and waterfalls, and we had many picnics in the jungle surrounding the campus. But we often got attacked by blood-sucking leeches, especially near waterfalls or on a rainy day in the forest. So only a bag of salt can be useful to kill these leeches once they attach to your legs and arms. Not everyone agrees to killing leeches, as the one you kill may be your own grandmother. I also organized a hiking club, and we have outings to some green vertical forests below these cliffs and holy lakes. We made campfires with dancing and singing and enjoying our spare time away from all of the rules of the college. But back to college life and writing exams in a leaky old warehouse with leeches crawling up your legs as we invigilate so the kids don't cheat. But how do we know who is who actually? Because my class has several of the people with the same names, such as Sonam Choden, for example. And some of them are boys and some of them are girls with the same name, which is the ultimate in gender neutrality in Bhutan. So how do the students manage all this? Well, they do not actually call each other by name. They give naughty nicknames to each other, such as Tubby and Papadi and Churki. Depends on whether you're a little bit skinny or a little bit too chunky. Well, we organized other clubs for mountain biking as well as bodybuilding, and even Mr. Bhutan visited our gym. He's the guy on the left, in case you're not sure. I also attended the National Bodybuilding Championships, where you see Mr. Bhutan as number 14. He's also the owner of Planet Gym in Thimphu, where I worked out with him sometimes. Now, to go to Thimphu and other places in Bhutan, we actually need a road permit because there are police checkposts along the way. So getting our permit, we now finally go to visit Thimphu, and these gates lead to the Central Memorial Chorten in the capital city, which is used by hundreds of people daily to do the Korah for merit. The imposing fortress in this photo is the central complex for the royal palace, the parliament, the monk body, temples, and offices for ministries, with a few leftover rice paddies nearby that were preserved from all the building that's going on in Thimphu. Most of the city is covered with new apartment buildings, and such is a place where we lived in a small two-bedroom place, sometimes minutes walk from the river and the markets. There are many babies seen here going to marketplace with their mums. The birth rate is pretty high in Bhutan. And one might even see a royal car parked someplace when K5 attends a conference or ceremony. When greeting the king, people wear special scarves for respect. For getting around the country, buses and taxis are abundant, and central bus terminal is available where you can get onto a bus to almost any place at a very cheap fare. But in a faraway village, one may have to hitch a ride with an ambulance sometimes when there is no bus, sharing with a man who has a heart condition. And of course, you get home faster because there's no need to stop at all the roadblocks. The streets of Thimphu usually have traffic jams, but today we all wait for an important visitor, the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Modi. The photos of the two prime ministers are all over the buildings, and the kids are out to greet the Prime Minister. The streets are now cleaned up for the day. There are no stray dogs around, which usually travel around in packs and bark quite a lot all night. Also, no open defecation is allowed in the city, and no garbage, of course. And no urining is allowed on this wall. But some foreign chilips can't actually read these signs, I guess. Well, what to do if you can't even use Drachang's toilet? You have to do it somewhere. Well, after some excitement in the city, it's time to go for a walk in the forests above the new Buddha statue, where we also have some great mountain bike trails and views of the high peaks. Tango University is also close to the city on a good hiking trail, where monks study for at least 6 years to get their diplomas, and then they are allowed to go and meditate for 3 years in small houses, usually on a cliff. Eventually, they all get jobs in temples such as Phajoding above the valley, which is a nice hike of a couple of hours from town. You can also follow trails up to 4,500-meter peaks and small lakes above tree line, go camping, and can walk all the way to Paro in a few days on a route that was used by people for centuries. The passes east of the city are easy to reach by bus. Dochula is the most picturesque. It has newly built chortens, 108 of them, as a tribute to the fourth king and his success in war a couple of decades ago. The pass has a temple with some amazing artwork just above the misty forests. And all this art requires many artists. who are trained for 6 years in schools such as Choki School of Traditional Arts, where they learn carving and weaving and painting of tankas and sewing. The graduates all get jobs to work on houses and temples. The school takes talented kids from poor families who could not afford schooling otherwise. The Paro area has the impressive Paro Dzong, and the streets are home to colorful characters. Lay monks playing homemade instruments, holy men dressed up, in meditation houses and temples perched on cliffs or mountain tops, such as Jeladzong, a few hours of hike from the valley. Monks always work hard and pray, but also play soccer or basketball. To live on the original cliff where Tiger's Nest is located. The cliff itself resembles the face of Guru Rinpoche, and when the first airport opened in Bhutan, people reported seeing giant flying fish above Tiger's Nest, thinking another Guru Rinpoche reincarnation is coming to the cliffs to meditate. Monks smile as they walk the many stairs, wearing slippers and carry heavy supplies daily. Stairs are now fixed with good railings, but a few foreigners still fall off while taking too many selfies close to the edge. Tiger's Nest is a lovely spot, but it's too crowded for my liking, so better to find a peaceful area at 4,000-meter high Chelela Pass, among high-altitude cows and yaks, and above the monsoon clouds rolling in from India. I camped here a few times and also hang out with some monks who placed small tsatsas, clay memorials to important lamas who died. All monks now have cell phones, keep in touch with villagers and family, and get called up for funerals and prayer sessions, and also check Facebook and take selfies. The stone hut at the very top is a place to rest in the cold wind, but I soon realized it was here for the purpose of sky burials of children under the age of 8, as they are not allowed to be cremated. From here is a long descent to the village of Ha and the border area next to Tibet. It's a disputed border and a place full of army camps. The Chinese army is on the far side of those hills. On a good day, some fantastic views to Chamulhari. Those glaciers have never been climbed from this side. Travels to central Bhutan might be on bumper transport, on the bumpy roads, and good luck. I got car sick at least 10 times on my first trip. But if you feel okay, you can buy apples, or churpi, which is dried yak cheese, and lots of chilies. But Border Roads Agency Bro advises start early drive, slow reach safely, which is very good advice. Else a rock slide might wipe out the national highway, just as we travel here with Namge Rinpoche. We asked him to pray so the rocks would disappear. He declined and advised that dynamite will be far more efficient. No problem, we all reached the tea house safely after some 8 hours. We often travel with our favorite taxi drivers, share the car with many kids and local families, and have a great time on remote, bumpy roads far from the busy place of the big city. April is the time to see rhododendrons blooming, and can also meet some yaks during the snowstorm. White ones, black ones, on a nice day. And the drinking fountains at temples attract the deer, and also the monkeys. The monkeys and langurs come over for leftover rice. These langurs are particularly cute and curious as they watch monks do laundry or are busy memorizing prayers. I wanted to learn more about a monk's life and found a lovely monastery above Punaha, where I talked to the principal and asked permission to stay there for a week and teach English. He was very welcoming, gave me a room, and I started some lessons for each group of well-behaved monks. We took part of everyday life, played soccer, watched the daily debates, and eat in the dining hall of rice and vegetables. It is best to use the fingers and share a plate of curry with a friend. After a while, one is transformed by this peaceful life and can also get rid of my hair with some Photoshop work. I was also fortunate to spend time with various famous people and Rinpoches. Here is Barba Tulku Rinpoche and his old friends Pat and Baiba Moro from British Columbia. I invited them to visit our college in Gedu, give some lectures, go for hikes, and make some videos in the villages and for the college. Barba Tulku Rinpoche is also a keen filmmaker and hiked with me in the rhododendron forests. He's a very close friend of the royal family. His daughter is here with the king, and his father worked for the previous two kings at the palace as the chief conversationalist. Rinpoche was born right next to the palace and told me many tales of life there. He was so important that even the water turned to milk when he was born. We also ran into other famous people, filmmakers, singers, actors, comedians. One comedian we saw on TV was having tea with us and asked me where I was from. Canada, I said. He immediately replied, when I was in Canada, I was a mosquito. Thanks, I said. I was very happy to learn about his previous reincarnation and told him I will not kill any mosquitoes this summer. Ordinary monks also enjoy outings for a hike. They jump on a truck, negotiate mountain roads, and meet some crazy yaks. To reach a trail and climb up to nomads' shelters, where they use dogs and electric fences to keep out wild animals. We brought gifts to the teacher at a retreat, where he said he was careful to keep out the tigers from his small cabin. But when I went inside, I found that the tigers were actually inside his cabin. Yak herders lived nearby, and we gave a small teddy bear to this girl, and they were happy to invite us in their shack for some hot milk tea. There are lots of monasteries, but also a few nunneries, some on remote cliffs with very basic housing, cold weather, but spectacular rainbows below your feet. Nuns of all ages live in these harsh conditions, and this lady walks around barefoot around the Jordans here. There are some more luxurious nunneries too in the warmer Punaha Valley. This one has support from a queen. We spent some days here teaching English, playing word games, and going shopping with the nuns. For monks and nuns and all of us, village life is a nice break from daily chores. We can visit a basic pool house or a barber saloon for a haircut and neck massage for 25 cents. Lodging and fooding is found everywhere, and so is the sale of homemade alcohol called Ara. Drinks are also available at the Pemochodan Hotel cum bar or the RKPO restaurant cum bar. Meals are available at the Bhutan kitchen, but this item is not actually on the menu. After some drinks, we went to the Dharma house located on another cliff above the Paro area. As usual, we have a lot of parties and joke a lot with our friends. So now we go to a place so holy and sacred that if you walk around it 108 times, then sins such as killing your own parent can merit redemption. Also, you can just squeeze through a hole in the rock and your sins are forgiven, unless you have too many sins to fit into the hole. Well, maybe I shouldn't have killed my parents. Well, evil spirits and demons are everywhere. They attack village houses. So once a year, a ritual must be performed to get rid of these and burn clay figures that look like nasty demons. These rituals are not really Buddhism. They come from the earlier days of nature-based beliefs. And these are lay monks. They use many instruments, including trumpets made of human leg bones. These trumpets are sold here in the market and used by gurus who guard holy places, such as Mebar Cho, which is the burning lake, where treasure hunters went underwater with a burning oil lamp and came out with artifacts, and the lamp was still burning. The story is told here to our professor, Madame Diane, who is so impressed she actually wanted to stay in Bhutan permanently. But to obtain such a permit, she had to ask Guru to marry her. Well, he readily obliged, saying his wife will easily agree to it too. Indeed, it is okay to have several wives or husbands in Bhutan. It is demonstrated by K4 here, the fourth king. He has exactly 4 wives. These 4 queens standing next to him are actually 4 sisters that he married. But his son, K5, is married to just 1 wife as a good example for the future days in Bhutan. Still, ordinary people can choose to practice polygamy. We know a taxi driver friend, Karma Wangdi, who built this house with 12 apartments for his 4 wives and 12 children in Kabesa village near Thimphu. I visited the family several times for tea and parties, met the wives and kids, and they all live in pretty good harmony. There's even a book published about him called The Taxi Driver and His Wives. Of course, the royals have many more privileges, such as processions and dances welcoming this prince to Olympic days. He is a charming young prince. He is the head of the Bhutan Olympic Committee and still is a bachelor. He did all the sports this day, archery, soccer, even boxing, and we sometimes ran into him in the disco bars of Thimphu at night. Some schools also hold another sports event, a rice eating contest, and this winner is having some stomach distress after many pounds of rice eaten in a few minutes. The winter residence of royals and lamas is in the warmer Punaha Valley, at the Dzong and in the valley. But the largest Dzong is in Trongsa in central Bhutan, which is usually in the clouds. It has large prayer wheels, steep stairs, and narrow courtyards, and gates to keep out invaders, or to actually cut the country in half in the old days, when the only route was directly through the middle of the Dzong. Not as big, but far more photogenic is the Gaso Dzong, up higher. And the best thing here is the nearby hot springs, where people camp and sit in the pools for 7 days for good health. There are various hot springs in remote valleys, but this one in Galafu is always packed, just like a human soup. But they always invite you in. There's room for 1 more. If there's no hot springs, then try a hot stone bath. Just heat the stones in a campfire and throw them in a tub of water, and then soak in the hot water with your buddies. After a bath, off to play with some smiling kids nearby. These kids never say hi or how are you. The custom is to ask, where are you going? Which gets annoying after dozens of times a day. I eventually just tell them I am walking to China or Japan, and they just look at me amazed. But, well, they also believe in flying tigers. These kids in Maritsimo village play under the biggest tree, which is visible for miles. It was planted in 1850 by the British Army at the Treaty of Sinsula. Nearby are several holy caves filled with baths and probably hardly visited since the British invasion. Snowfall comes in December, and I hike to empty yak herder shelters and passes in the clouds, marked by chortens and prayer flags. Mostly hiking alone, but sometimes had a trail running partner from Australia, who also worked here, and we tried to find our way at 4,000-meter Jom Kerim Pass. We had a reliable guidebook called Mild and Mad Day Hikes of Thimphu, written by an engineer from Amsterdam. Sometimes a jeep is needed to reach the trails near treeline, and we camped here at the Centena, met the custodians and their goat and dog, and enjoyed sunset and campfire with the students. I had a good sleep in my $10 tent from the best mountain equipment store in town, and next day hike many hours in deep snow, followed by a crazy goat who refused to stay behind. Finally, we reached mysterious Shaugella Lake, home to a lovely mermaid, who gets very angry and unleashes storms unless we offer holy smoke and do not swim in the lake. Possibly no foreigners have seen this lake in the past 100 years, so I was careful not to offend the mermaid. But we did have an angry goat who was very hungry and had to walk another 4 hours just to get back to our campsite. Other special places are visited by people for merit and for pilgrimage before getting too old. These temples are located on cliffs amongst huge rocks or past cliffs and waterfalls, such as Chumpune, where one can visit a statue of a levitating goddess. These places require much maintenance, but volunteer labor is easy to find. People are keen to gain merit by doing this work. They can carry bricks, they carry firewood and other supplies to the temples and to the monks. People work hard, they harvest rice, but they still have a smile as we call each other aunties and uncles, as we are all in the same big family in Bhutan. It is a small country with a small population, so almost everyone is related. Kids do benefit from free education. They learn English, and they have some good facilities, nice playgrounds, where they are amazed at a Chilip madam teacher trying out the new slide. There are events such as Children's Day, and with no TV or computer games, mostly kids will make homemade toys, especially these poor kids coming from a very poverty-stricken village. While grandparents had no schools, many are still illiterate, so in retirement it is time to gain merit and do some prayers. But if you are a retired king like K4, he lives in a modest palace in the forest, goes hiking, hunting, smokes a cigar, he plays basketball with the bodyguards, and rides his bike to villages. He has a weekly schedule to visit his 4 queens who live in 4 different palaces in the hills. The local hill tribes live in very harsh conditions, but they come to town for festivals, such as these lions who wear curious hats with small lightning rods and sell jewelry and fungi they collect for medicine, called cordyceps. Common people and royals all attend festivals, watch masked dancers who play out stories of how demons are subdued, while the clowns scare the young girls with wooden penises that would make them instantly pregnant if you touch the girl on the head with one. Such is life in this unique and mysterious kingdom, where life is fascinating, bizarre, and can be a lot of fun. There are many contradictions, and it may not be a Shangri-La for all, but they welcomed me as an honored guest, and I became part of their big family, and even found my long-lost brother hiding here at the temple. And as I finally must head back to Canada, I remember the words from a Bhutanese author and his feelings. As the small plane climbs out of the Paro Valley, the cloud banks close in right behind it, and the small kingdom of Bhutan is again shrouded in mystery, such that one wonders if it was even real. But between clouds, an occasional portal opens into a deep Himalayan valley where familiar homes and fields affirm that there's still a life that makes sense. From dreaming of prayer flags like Karma Singh Dorji. Peninsula. Thank you.